The KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. We have a lot going on today. Let me see if I can parse out the announcement post as we have it, because there's just a whole lot. So just in order of listing, for those of you who are online but joining us out in Radio Land, as mentioned, see if we can do this in one breath: elections, immigration, border security, human trafficking, drug smuggling, state laws, economic development, Prop C in the aftermath of Prop K, population drop, and much more. Okay, so maybe it wasn't too much for one breath, but that's just listing all of them as opposed to the slightly more expanded that we usually do. It's a busy start to the week, y'all. I know I often put forth that contention that a lot of stuff like accumulates over the weekend and then gets us fresh start, but there's a lot going on. I mean, in front of mine there, just delving a little bit further into it. Yeah, elections. We have the runoff election impending, as we have Monica Cervantes joining us over on the social media, Facebook. Hola to you as well. Tu también. And also dropping those likes and reacts already. RJ asking how many hours are we on today? Decent question. I have no confidence we're going to get to absolutely all of these, but we're going to do our level best to try to. But we also got, we got a whole lot more developing this week. I mean, any one of those topics, we could maybe not a whole show, but damn near, like elections on its own. We are working, of course, to get more onto the factors going into it, and hopefully getting the full span of, at the very least, the school board candidates before we get to the election, which, again, epcountyvotes.com does have that up right now. The current coming election day, Saturday, June 10th. So for those of you in the, EPISD districts number 2 and 6, y'all got runoffs. In the YISD district 6, y'all got a runoff as well. And in Town of Horizon, mayor. So I know we have at least one person that that tunes in from there. You got a mayor to go and vote for there as well. So that could be its own show. And then going down the list, what else we got? Yeah, immigration and border security. Okay, I listed them separately, but I often say them in the same breath. We still got the apparent tapering off in our area of the high watermarks that were set for both levels, custody, encounters, etc. In the immediate aftermath, or technically leading just before the aftermath of Title 42. As we also have Eric von Holstein Rathlow, good afternoon with the smiley face. Austin Redfern wishing a good Monday, gang. And Ed Clore saying, yeah, sounds like a Friday menu. I mean, it's all locally based, so I'll say that unless you're talking about like a restaurant. I don't know. Anyway, we got a lot to get into, and Robbie Flores also wishing everyone a hello, and those dropping those likes and reacts, including RJ Promotes, Flaco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes. I don't know. Last week felt like it dragged a little bit. Maybe that was just me mentally, because it was a busy / just a lot going on personally, I guess. And now we got a lot going on publicly. Might be the right way to put it. But so, yeah, immigration and border security, we are seeing the tapering off of numbers, and very specifically the response being seen in El Paso so far. Again, numbers either leveling off or actually dropping markedly in some ways when it comes to particularly the local governmental response that has been mustered so far, seeing things tapering off there, which we'll delve into even further, but also still more other issues going on. At least one more water rescue, even if there are more suspicion of other rabbiting events going on, and also more state laws, also considering what will be happening with border enforcement going forward. Also, some alarm bells being sounded about a different kind of drug smuggling, or a different type of drug that has been not totally prevalent, but there have been some disturbing images from other places coming on. So the zombie drug, the one you might be hearing about. We'll try to delve into that as well. But also economic development going on in the area, crane watch updates from El Paso Inc., among other things. And let's see here. Richard Genesik saying, only had props on my ballot, no school board position, so no voting for runoffs. Yep, that is the situation. I mean, not all of them went to runoffs, but still some of the previous propositions, or at the very least two previous Proposition C in the aftermath of Proposition K, because remember, we did have its own smaller slate of propositions on the previous ballot, November. And so where that's going, El Paso Matters has some interesting introspection into that, as well as also talking about a population drop. Not like huge, but like any level of that, Bucks trends, particularly statewide. So we'll try to delve into that one as well. And there's more we could probably get into, and I'm sure the calls will be interesting as always, as we try to keep them locally focused today, as we do at the start of the week. And then I guess Friday is the day we get into all of them, but I feel like maybe we creep a little bit closer to it than I totally intend to. And on some of these things, Flaco Jimenez saying a low water mark walked across the bridge into Juarez today. The adjacent canal had much more water than the river itself. Tends to be the situation. Tell you what, let's just go straight into that one then, as there was a canal rescue going on today. There's already been, what is this, like water safety awareness week or month, something along those lines, but El Paso Fire Department having to be part of a response to a water rescue near Loop 375 and Midway. I think that's near one of those Border Patrol gates that has been maybe not exactly Gate 42, but near enough, or at least one that I've heard a lot about. They had to come out to their El Paso Fire Department tweeting out, so from early this morning, 13 hours ago, according to Twitter at the moment, that El Paso Fire Department crews assisted in pulling 2 people out of the water at the canal at 375 and Midway. Their patients were being checked and ultimately ended up being handed over to U.S. Border Patrol once the scene was clear. Both patients were transported Code 1, which, if I remember correctly from my days of not exactly ambulance chasing, I wasn't a lawyer anyway, still am not, but of often having to follow up, see what the scanners were saying. I do believe that means lights and sound, so critical, essentially, if they are using different terminology now. So, I mean, serious situations, and given that we're in the water release season, there's reason to believe that this will continue, because sure, the Rio Grande itself, the either soft banks of it or the concrete ditch that it is for quite a lot of it. I say that semi-affectionately. I mean, it's been concreted in since the whole Chamizal agreement back in, middle of last century, which, now that I say it that way, kind of hurts me, but hey, it's technically accurate. The canals, where the water is therefore being put to be functionally used, can be a lot deeper, a lot faster, and there are no, soft banks. It's just concrete. So the undercurrents, I mean, all of the features of water that I guess we don't typically think about in this area that much, because, well, the Rio Grande is what it is, and you can walk in it for the most part. Back in my Boy Scout days, doing some 50 milers in further northern parts of the Rio Grande, ending up in the Rio Bosque area, or the Bosque del Pache more specifically. Invented a term I call Rio walking, because sure, there was a canoe and sure, it was floating, but I was definitely trudging through the water and dragging it behind me, because if you were actually in the canoe, it would just be on the bottom. Which is a long story to say. Yeah, you don't get that much in here, but seriously, there are a lot of situations that can be caused by the water, even in places where people don't expect it. It's kind of the, I guess, pedestrian version, might be the right way to put it, of turn around, don't drown, because just because you see the water and it doesn't look like that's fast moving, you don't know exactly how deep it is and what undercurrents are doing, because, yeah, water can move more powerfully along the bottom where it's going faster. There's a whole fluid dynamics aspect of physics when you get into it. Yeah, it's dangerous, and so unfortunately, 'tis the season there. Flaco Jimenez also saying that a friend spent the weekend at Elephant Butte and reported that the lake level was a little higher. It's been waning for a bit, but I don't know. We guess we've been having some-ish rains. I mean, we got a good bit, at least in the El Paso area, over this weekend, but yeah, there's a lot of factors that go into it, and of course the release going on Caballo Dam, just south of, or downstream, more accurately, I'm not sure if it's directly south, downstream certainly, of Elephant Butte, has always been looking pretty full, but it's not the same kind of full up. It's a underwater dam, so more of a water control measure, I guess would be the right way to put it. And Augustine Pimentel, yeah, it is bad and bad things going on with it. And also a lot of comments coming in already. Tell you what I already do for that first break of this hour right now. So I think I set the table. I think I got to everything we're going to attempt to today. Do our level best. Anyway, and we got a whole lot more we're working on for you this week as well. So whatever we don't get to today, we'll definitely do our best to continue to address, but things also keep moving. Like I mentioned, state laws, the state legislature in its crescendo right now, and we'll be checking in on that, at least one that we'll mention right now. But let's get into more of those immigration numbers right after we get to this break, as well as just all of the details. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break. Thank you for joining us here on a Monday. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Phone calls a little bit later, as we usually do. And let's hold on more discussion about all the things affecting us here in the borderlands. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for slowing for a medical emergency reported on Stanton at Excalibur Drive. Meanwhile, no delays to report. I-10 westbound between Zaragoza to Paisano, and moderate volume but building on 10 eastbound between Schuster up to the Spaghetti Bowl. Delay-free currently, Loop 375, north and south between Montana and I-10. That's your traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Like buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
It takes strength to care for a loved one, emotional, physical, and mental strength. When you're giving your all, who's supporting your needs as a caregiver? TexasCaregivers.org provides information, resources, and tools for care planning and short-term caregiving breaks to strengthen the care you give while caring for yourself. Visit TexasCaregivers.org. Brought to you by Texas Health and Human Services.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Men, you fought hard for the role that you play in your children's lives. This Father's Day, Cordell & Cordell celebrates you the entire month of June. Join us every Friday for our live webinar series, Father's Fridays. There you'll receive much useful information from our panel of speakers. To register, go to CordellCordell.com/Father's Day.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone? Do flowers have best friends? I don't know. Hey, look. Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of conversation going on there. Those dropping those likes and reacts already. Do appreciate it, including Richard Janicek, Ida Beza Gardner, Amber Banda, Sean Gardner, James Holmes, RJ Promotes, Flaco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes. Do appreciate it, as it helps us with all those algorithmic things in our continuing dual missions to have live local talk radio in the borderland, because damn it, I think we deserve it, and also to talk about the things that affect us right here at home, because no one else is going to have that conversation, particularly with all the things going into it on a day like today. Not that today is anything special, there's just a lot of subjects coming in, so going to be breaking them down as best we can anyway as we continue on in this continuing mission. So was mentioning about some of the border security immigration numbers. So I mean, we're still, the aftermath of Title 42, but some of the specific numbers, at least the local responses that we've been able to see so far, continue to either decrease significantly or at the very least taper off, depending on which metric that you're talking about. At the very least, from the city of El Paso response aspect of this, again, you can see these numbers for yourself, as I always mention, whenever relevant, elpasotexas.gov /migrant-crisis. There's a lot of also discussion going on in the comments about different events on the Rio Grande in previous years. Mention those here in a second. But when it comes to the migrant situational awareness dashboard here, the amount of hotels in operations is down to 1 now, and as of yesterday, there was only 1 person being housed that way. Migrant shelters, the ones, particularly Bassett, it doesn't seem like Moorhead ever actually ended up being in operation. Seems to have not had anyone in it since about, what's the date there? Last Thursday. Not reflecting any numbers there, and no Sun Metro transportation since last Wednesday, even. So some of the overall numbers, things aren't like there's not nothing going on when it comes to this. The total releases for last week and tumbling up just over 3,300. After the, not exactly a high water mark, but the recent high tide, I guess you could put it, of just under 4,300. But compare that to end of last year, third to last week of last year, when it would hit 10,000 of releases into the community. We definitely saw a rise, about 3,700, again, before 3 complete weeks ago. Then that's about 4,300 and about 3,300 for last week, on track for 362 so far for this calendar week. So again, not elapsing entirely, but still some numbers. The encounters markedly down, I will say that, with the recent high water mark of about 1,500 CBP encounters per day, about in the second complete week from now. So this is the start of the next incomplete week. But compare that to the just over 2,000 that we saw both in late end of last year, but even that wasn't a high water mark on its own, down to about half of that so far for most recent weeks. And the in custody down from its definite high water mark of about 5,500 and change to about 3,700 right now. So things are not by any means like it's not nothing going on, like I said, but there are still indications that what was being expected with the end of Title 42 has not shaped up the way that, has not been living up to those expectations. Whether that's a good thing or not remains to be seen. But as I was mentioning, more on, we had mentioned this a little bit Friday, but the nature of Friday, we didn't get into it, that there are still within the state of Texas on, we just looking at levels there. Flocky Minutes giving me some guff over using high water mark. We're talking about volume here. Sure, they still are individual people and still don't like the phrase catch and release, but hey, at a certain point, we're talking statistics and the numbers that we're seeing with it. So give me a better phrase then. In any case, state of Texas has been reported on by, El Paso Matters, Texas Tribune, and others, a couple of different efforts to do more, again, on the state level, both in terms of enforcement, Governor Greg Abbott, Operation Lone Star, and all of those levels of efforts, painting themselves starkly different than, of course, the federal ones here. Flauco Jimenez continuing to give me grief, and also West Texas 915 man. Appreciate the radio program. Hey, thanks for tuning in, particularly over on the Twitch stream. Always appreciate when people do that. But so there are a couple of bills. There was a previous one, Senate Bill 20, the one that would have either, depending on how you describe it, reinvigorated or recreated a Texas border security force. Now, of course, with Operation Lone Star and other previous, ones that have been continuing to authorize, Operation Stone Garden, which involves essentially grants for local or regional, like, the sheriff's department, etc., to be able to get contracts, not exactly contracts, grants to do this work on behalf of basically immigration and border security officials and forces, particularly within the state. And so Senate Bill 20 would have kind of reinvigorated its own force, as opposed to, again, Lone Star, which has been primarily focusing on DPS, a little bit of like Texas Military Department, State Guard, National Guard, etc. But this one would have created its own one. That one pretty much got the kibosh put onto it by the end of, a little bit before the end of last week. But there's another one, House Bill 7, that has moved forward and out of committee. So it's going to the full Senate vote now. House originated in the House, is processing through the Senate. And actually, correction, the other one was House Bill 20. So both House bills, the numbers we want to keep in mind here, 20 and 7. 20, the one that failed in its own right. 7, the one that's progressing on. But 20 has found new life, being kind of rolled in, essentially as an amendment, into House Bill 7. One of the major changes there is that one of the criticisms that had been about this recreation or reinvigorization of a state-level border security force specifically would have been that anyone could have joined it. Now, the way it's been reattached is that it would have to be sworn officers. They have to be licensed police officers, and also will limit the unit's activity to border communities where county commissioners had given approval, according to El Paso Matters and further reporting by the Texas Tribune. So there's more still progressing through there. But again, the real interesting part of it is about the differences in just tactics and approach. Broadly speaking, I'm not quoting anyone on this here, but I think it would be fair to say that a lot of the federal efforts have been on managing the situation, of dealing with it, keeping it from being maybe necessarily overwhelming, kind of like what we saw at the end of last year. To that extent, and within those very narrow parameters, I would say there's a level of success that could have been seen so far. At the very least, I mean, sure, we saw the situation around Sacred Heart Church, the couple of thousand people that were around there. That was then swiftly enough dealt with. I mean, we saw the clearing out of that Father Rom's open, even if there are still, I haven't seen any updates on that, but as of the start of this week, I do believe that like the trolley service is still kind of in limbo after it had been shut down in deference to the situation and some of the areas by which it would be operating. I think technically the trolley barn is down by that area. Someone correct me if I'm wrong on that. I've never actually visited it to myself. But when it comes to this, so again, federal efforts have been pretty much to, again, manage, deal with, keep from the pressure getting too high in any one particular area. I think that's a fair enough way to put it, even if some may be unhappy with that situation. The state side, however, has been very different. And here I will quote directly, specifically, some of the previous bills. Again, specifically, what was it? House Bill 20 has been, one of these bills. The way it has been reproposed, there was language in it previously giving officers of that no border unit the authority to, quote, deter and repel, end quote, migrants at the border. Now, that has now been omitted from this new version, but I'm going to say that that is still pretty apparently the purpose behind it. I mean, look at the difference in the efforts that we've seen. The state level forces currently, anyway, even before the rest of this may or may not end up passing, we're in the crunch time of this session. So there's not a whole lot of bets I'm willing to take, as much as the idea of betting on politics, again, just kind of gives me the ick. I would not even give even odds to anything progressing through without the specter of a special session, therefore forcing it through in the long run. We're getting pretty close to that being the case for a whole lot of efforts, including specifically like budgets and tax relief, and also school vouchers, which we're working on getting more for you on the show. We'll talk about that a little bit later on, as we're going to be having, that's progressing through in its own right. But I would think it's fair to say overall that the state level efforts when it comes to immigration and border security, deter and repel, are pretty well the guidelines that have been put forth. I mean, just look at the differences. Sure, this most recent time around, some of the pictures that were coming through, particularly from the soft banks of the Rio Grande, there was more infrastructure being put into place by like federal officials, some more fencing, more gates, those kind of things. I mean, the lines that we're seeing from some of those drone shots that I've seen more often used than not, because yeah, that's maybe there are lesson learned, but I will say that the state level efforts, I mean, they're the ones, those state troopers, once the disaster declaration was made end of last year, really, and the continuing states of emergency that continue to be reauthorized, keeping them around effectively, they were the ones deploying the concertina wire, them doing other, I mean, the line of vehicles that we think we still got some of those pictures up for those of you over on the stream. Yeah, this is from end of last year, just showing the very big difference in the manner that they're going about it. So deter and repel, I would say, even if it's not going specifically into language, is very much applicable as the way the state is going about it. Similar statements coming out from Governor Greg Abbott, of course, bear that up about turning people away. I mean, I've even described it as almost not quite a new wet foot, dry foot rule, but honestly, I'd be hard pressed to explain completely the differences besides the bodies of water or lack thereof that are involved. So those are some of the situations going on and updated on so far. Again, the tapering off we're seeing in our community at the very least, even if, again, the situations at the state level continue to be changing along. So let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll be talking more about some of the other things going on in the community. Of course, trying to work through the laundry list of issues we're going to try to break down for you today, including some of the smuggling, human trafficking, and particularly some new warnings being sounded by officials here in El Paso about that zombie drug or trank, or however you want to put it. We'll delve into that as what is being said there, but also some more of the local efforts, including Prop C in the aftermath of Prop Cape. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 24-year-old woman is accused of driving drunk and causing a deadly crash. It happened Sunday morning at the intersection of Joe Battle and Edgemere. Valeria Mena is accused of running a red light and crashing into a Honda Accord. A passenger in that car was killed. He's been identified as 28-year-old Stephen Anthony Hernandez. Valeria Mena was booked into the county jail on manslaughter charges. And a 20-year-old man has been arrested, accused in a deadly shooting that happened Friday night in a desert area in East El Paso County. Jose Manuel Villa was arrested by El Paso County Sheriff's deputies. The shooting happened again on Friday night. They say that he shot and killed 19-year-old Adan Tiscareno. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
Watch for slowing for an accident reported on Montwood eastbound just before Joe Battle at Firehouse Drive. Avoid delays. Take an alternate route like South Kleinfeld or Zaragoza Road instead. Also a crash reported on Zaragoza at Rich Beam Boulevard. You could use Tierra Este or Edgemere Boulevard as an alternate to get around the slowing. And that's your latest El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. We're going to see a drier and hotter pattern as we start the week and move toward the middle part of the week. Southwesterly winds pushing the moisture out, so we're not going to see chances for storms tomorrow. Just dry for your Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies with a high around 93 degrees. We'll see mostly sunny skies for our Wednesday, a little hotter, high around 96. Partly cloudy, breezy for your Thursday, high 97. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Need to hire? Need Indeed. Their hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates in one place. Sponsor a job and immediately get a short list of quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
Gilbert worked in retail and restaurant management for 14 years. It was time for a change.
I recognized where I was at was vulnerable to the whims of the economy.
Then he heard about My Computer Career. Gilbert went for it.
In as little as 7 months, I got all of my certifications at a fraction of a cost for college.
He became an IT pro in just months with zero experience at mycomputercareer.edu.
I can work from anywhere. I have more time for my family as well.
It's not rocket science. It's mycomputercareer.edu.
This is one student's experience. Individual results vary.
Each year, thousands of women and girls are at risk for an unplanned pregnancy. Some are worried about becoming a parent too soon, about what having a child will mean for their plans for the future. Modern adoption plans allow women and girls to choose what is important to them in an adoptive family, including ethnicity, religious beliefs, personality traits, and where they live. By considering a modern adoption plan, women and girls are making brave and selfless choices. To learn more about modern adoption, go to modernadoptionplans.org.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso, weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m., and let's talk El Paso.
Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's, like buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
Text and whatever. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv, either under Andrew J. Polk or Talk El Paso, of course. And of course, Talk El Paso brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, right across I-10 from Sunland Park Mall, on 950 Crockett Street specifically. They got their Memorial Day sales event in full force, so go check them out for thousands of dollars back in cash allowances and rebates. So check them out again, Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. And a lot of comments coming in as well on the various situations. I promised I'd mention them at least a little bit. A whole lot of people talking about the different previous timeframes of when there were different uses on the Rio Grande, including who was it? Eric von Holstein Rathlow saying a little bit earlier, used to have a blast at the KLAQ River Raft races, and Louis Pinato was saying, showing your age, and a little bit back and forth there, including Louis Pinato saying, then I remember when the levee at Country Club Road being like Woodstock every Sunday with lots of tie-dye and substances. I'll just put it that way. And RJ chatting back now, who's showing his age. But, I mean, there are other situations. John Braslin mentioning California dams 100% full and releasing water downstream. I mean, they got flooding concerns that are as part of it. They've had some, I mean, I focused on that a little bit. They've had some changes to their policies out that way, though that's firmly Friday territory. Here, we'll take it if they could get it to us, of course. Let's get Elephant Butte filled right the back up so we don't have that bathtub ring around the effect. Or Lake Mead, among other things. Just one more out of the area mention I'll make. Let's just be very happy we don't have the same kind of situations on the Rio Grande, even if there are some technicalities and fiddly little bits of legality that have been going on, as opposed to the Colorado River, which has just been a nightmare. Many, many, many reasons that I don't live outside of this area. Anyway, other comments coming in, of course, on the idea of immigration. I'll entertain the trolls this one time, the one per show quote I give myself. Eric McNabb saying, people like Polk are the reason why these Christian Hispanic immigrants are, why people think these Christian Hispanic immigrants are going to destroy the country. My dude, all I was doing was reading the numbers, the publicly available information, and describing the efforts that are going on with it. If you think that has racial implications or prejudices towards them, that says a lot more about you than I think you'd be willing to admit, because I'm just talking about the situation that they are having in our area, what the response has been. And if you think it's wrong in any way, please point that out. But otherwise, if you think that me talking about any of these numbers, what they are, and any other implications, well, if the clown shoe fits, you wear it. Anyway, let's go ahead. Then what are you talking about with destroying the country then? Like, seriously, you're the one bringing it up. So, don't try to do the no you kind of thing. Like, come on, let's go before a third grade level of debate here. Anyway, some of the other situations we are looking at in the area, specifically El Paso Inc. has got an update to its crane watch, which I'm always pleased to see, with them having a number of projects. I mean, including the UTEP Aerospace Center, Frontera Force Main, pipeline protection, water supply projects, of course, the TxDOT ones continuing on, and more retail projects as well. So check that out from their more recent edition. So economic development, of course, always a good thing. But then, well, the population in El Paso has been of discussion, if not entirely a concern, maybe now dipping into concern from El Paso Matters today. Article title, El Paso city population drops by more than 1,000 in 2022 census estimates. Now, of course, 2022, not a census year, but there are still the estimations that go on. I mean, the census isn't like the super version of not working during the summer. They do everything. They start doing estimations in between, if not the full count. But according to them and these estimates, and the reporting by El Paso Matters, population with El Paso city limits was estimated at 677,459 as of July 1st, 2022, down more than 1,000 people in a year. So, the situation has been in El Paso is that no, El Paso did not previously stagnate or stop growing. It just grew nowhere near as fast. I mean, we were in single digits at the very least, where the rest of Texas was at or near double digits. I mean, sure, like, 5 versus 10%, but still part of the reason that we saw some of the districting out of portions of our area, and this maybe more fuel for that fire. But also, when it comes to the propositions being talked about, El Paso Matters also has a little bit more insight, speaking directly with the, let me get the title correct here, the El Paso's Chief Resiliency Officer, Nicole Ferrini, who is the head of the offices and efforts under of Proposition C, the November one. And they have some interesting input on, what it's going to take. It's expected that some of the plan, and coming out of that, the climate action plan, again, as distinct from any of the climate charter things that were under Proposition K, probably coming out by spring of 2025 with some of the background work going on that in the meantime. So that's still going on as well, though some of the impact from the discussion around Prop K, just to quote briefly from it, Alderete Ferrini saying, our community has just been through what ultimately turned out to be a very divisive moment. As we come out and do the work that we were mandated to do through Prop C, approved by voters last November, we want to make sure that we are capturing the concerns of the whole community. And we did 8 community meetings in 2 weeks to share information about Prop K, and we read a lot of different rooms with a lot of different people and a lot of different opinions. So, going on to say, I think our work going forward is going to be the healing that divide, and what I can understand of the Proposition K election campaign, what our community cares about the issue. So, not a blockbuster moment just yet, but still continuing apace. Also, one other note I want to make, El Paso Inc. noting that there is that aquarium coming, the Jungle Reef, that'll be coming to Sunland Park Mall, including otters, stingrays, and sharks. About a $5 million project set to, it's where the old Navy used to be, if you know where that is. But to the last thing that I wanted to specifically mention, I think we've done pretty well justice to, at the very least, mentioning all the subjects that we lined up for today. The article out from El Paso Inc. this week, law enforcement alarmed by, quote, zombie drug, end quote. So that's concerning in its own right. And this does include some reporting from the Associated Press of situations in other cities. And, well, just the first line of that article here. Picture someone on the sidewalk, hunched over, looking at the ground, dazed, with a limb covered in decaying skin tissue, a black crust forming around the wound. And this is specifically talking about a drug known as xylazine. I think I'm pronouncing that one right. Spelled Xylazine. It's an animal tranquilizer, becoming apparently known as either Trank, the Q, or the zombie drug. And I've seen some of the images coming from particularly other cities where zombie sounds about right. Like, not even just people like slumped over, but people like legs straight and bent almost in half while still technically standing and just stand like just out in the street or on sidewalks that way. So what the specifically DEA in El Paso, Carlos Briano, public information officer with the El Paso division of the same, saying the DEA has seized illicit drugs that contained xylazine in El Paso County. So not clear how much has been, but El Paso Inc. noting that DEA laboratory systems reported that 23% of fentanyl powder and 7% of fentanyl pills seized contain xylazine in 48 states. And in particular, the South region, including Texas, a 1,127% increase in deaths due to xylazine positive overdoses. So as much as fentanyl isn't a fun thing on its own, the impacts on this specifically, and they go more into it, including information from the National Institute on Drug Abuse. It is a powerful non-opioid veterinary tranquilizer that is meant to be used on like large animals, among other things, but the impacts it has on people just sounding horrific, not good, not a good time for anyone involved, and just horrifically addictive, among other things. So, yeah, fun stuff. A lot of different factors moving in this area. So, getting close to that next break right now. We do have a few other comments coming in, including Ronaldo Rivera saying that states are fighting over water and shortages are being reported, and they are building an aquarium. Give it a year and it'll go into the red. Honestly, I get you saying water in the desert, you can't have that much. The thing about aquariums is you get the initial amount of water and then you're good. Like you keep filtering it, might need to top it off. If you're constantly having to refill and reuse all that water, something's gone horrifically wrong. I mean, I've visited other severely landlocked places like Denver. Denver has a wonderful aquarium and they super don't have like much more water than it's a little bit greener, sure, but seriously, they don't have just, an ocean to pull from. So it's possible. And this is also, I do believe, a private run one. Again, from El Paso Inc. on that one. Again, their article titled Stingrays, Otters, and More Coming to El Paso. I don't think it's going to be like huge, but it is being put forth by one of the owners of Monkey Rock, which has, for my money, one of the more interesting things that's gone into Sunland Park Mall recently. So, I mean, you're welcome to have your predictions about it, but honestly, I've thought for a long time El Paso could probably end up supporting an aquarium at the very least of something we don't really have. Sure, there are a couple of really big aquarium stores in town. And if you want to go to your favorite pet shop and look at the wall of them here. But yeah, but I will say Lupinato, not sounding too rosy on it, saying just like the Trolley, Bar Park, Civic Center, Plaza Theater, County Coliseum, etc., all losers financially. The big difference here is that, to my understanding, I don't know if I can't say for sure that there's no private partnership going into this, but I mean, this is a private one. So at the very least, I don't think that it has. Okay, Irfan Holstein Rathlow saying Denver has 10 times the snowfall that El Paso does. They're still not packing snow. I mean, yes, it's a wetter climate. I'll give you that much, certainly. But again, if you're constantly having to refill the aquariums, it probably means something horrifically broke. Just saying there. I'll be excited to see it happen. I'll go check it out. I mean, I think it'll take a little bit, but some of the pictures from El Paso Inc. recently showing it under construction, some of the framing out go on right now. So, hey, why not? I'm always encouraging people to try different things in this area. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break and go ahead and open up the phone lines now, as we usually do at this point during the show. I think we at least touched on everything, so I'm going to call that mildly mission accomplished. But of course, it continues on with y'all's comments, calls, and other concerns. So if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, keep delving into the comments as well. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 24-year-old woman is accused of driving drunk and causing a deadly crash. It happened Sunday morning at the intersection of Joe Battle and Edgemere. Valeria Mena is accused of running a red light and crashing into a Honda Accord. A passenger in that car was killed. He's been identified as 28-year-old Stephen Anthony Hernandez. Valeria Mena was booked into the county jail on manslaughter charges. And a 20-year-old man has been arrested, accused in a deadly shooting that happened Friday night in a desert area in East El Paso County. Jose Manuel Villa was arrested by El Paso County Sheriff's deputies. The shooting happened again on Friday night. They say that he shot and killed 19-year-old Adan Tiscareño. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for slowing for the crash on Zaragoza at Rich Beam Boulevard. Avoid delays. Take an alternate route. You could use Tierra Este or Edgemere Boulevard instead. Also, a stalled vehicle to watch for on US 54 Patriot Freeway southbound at Van Buren. The activity and vehicle is off right on the shoulder, not blocking. And that's a look at your latest El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Prep your yard for the summer for less with 5 for $10 Scott's Naturescapes mulch. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways children of all ages can learn about sustainability and the environment at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth. iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. October is Energy Awareness Month and a good time to assess your home to make sure you're ready for the season's cooler temperatures. Keep your window shades open on sun-facing windows during the day to get free solar heat, and close them after dark to add a little extra insulation. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Are you a business owner, CEO, or responsible for marketing? If you are, iHeartMedia can help you reach your goals and find new customers. We reach more consumers in your target area than anyone else, and we can give you access to those potential customers more cost-effectively across radio, digital, podcasting, and social. We'd love to show you how iHeartMedia can work for you. Get started today at iHeartAdvertising.com. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
I've tried a lot of language learning apps lately, and Rosetta Stone is hands down my favorite. I love that it teaches you phrases you can use in real-life conversations. And they have the best speech recognition tool. It tells you how accurate your pronunciation is, so you can really nail your accent. Learn almost any language you want, like Spanish, Italian, Chinese, and Korean. Or get access to all 25 languages for life with Rosetta Stone's lifetime unlimited subscription. Check it out at rosettastone.com.
Staples Print and Marketing Services help small business print big. Now get $15 off signs, banners, and posters when you spend $75 or more. Offer ends July 1st. Visit staples.com/printbig for details. This is your sign to try Staples, where your prints are perfect, guaranteed.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of comments coming in. Again, those dropping those likes and reacts that help us with all those algorithmic things, and therefore we appreciate including Richard Janessi, Guy DeBeza Gardner, Amber Banda, Sean Gardner, James Holmes, RJ Promotes, Flaco Jimenez, Robbie Flores, and Monica Cervantes. Other conversations coming in, including about the amount of rainfall we have in this area, and including other things about some of the stories we've been talking about, including Eric Von Holstein Rathwell saying what El Paso needs more people with titles like resiliency officer. And I think it's a face palm. The emoji is a little bit small, but also adding on, oh, brother. But, I mean, okay, welcome to be skeptical. Well, that is the position that was created by Proposition C on the previous ballot, not this most recent one. That Prop C was, I'm going to be honest, I lost track with that. The ones I remember offhand are Prop K and I, as they got the most airtime, and definitely a distant second place for Prop I. But I mean, other things coming in, other considerations of things like John Browson saying all the UTEP and medical schools left town for better jobs. I mean, brain drain is continually an issue, which is why possibly some of the things coming out of the Texas legislative session that we'll also be looking at probably more in the aftermath than trying to delve into it right now might be more funding for some like the medical schools, or also things like, well, even a law school. That one has had more efforts going towards it. And sure, there's the whole idea of we're creating the talent but not keeping it here. But yeah, who knows? Anyway, I'll tell you what, we're getting a little bit too close to the top of the hour to get into any more of the calls right now, but those phone lines are still open. If you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And we'll get to those probably right after the top of the hour. So there's a lot more details, including, of course, the border security and immigration situations. And a lot of suggestions going on to it. Don't really get how anyone would expect alligators to work, particularly in an otherwise dry ditch or in a way too fast canal. They kind of like lakes, if you hadn't noticed. Besides the whole, how the hell would you even manage that? I think that more capacity is pretty much always been the issue, at the very least in recent years in our region. So yeah, let's try to come back to reality with that one. Anyway, taking that break, coming after this with more of the comments, more of the concerns, more of, well, everything we do, particularly in the second hour of the show. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Again, that phone number, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Phone lines available now. Back in a minute. And don't you go anywhere.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for slowing for the crash on Zaragoza at Rich Bean Boulevard. Avoid delays. Take an alternate route. You could use Tierra Este or Edgemere Boulevard instead. Also, a stalled vehicle to watch for on US 54 Patriot Freeway southbound at Van Buren. The activity and vehicle is off right on the shoulder, not blocking. And that's a look at your latest El Paso traffic.
Hey, El Paso, Ivan Ochoa, General Manager of Sun Up Park Crusher Dodge Jeep Ram Fiat. I have a huge announcement. Thank you for making us #1 in total sales this year. To stay #1, we're offering the biggest savings ever. Hey, Jojo, tell everyone about our exciting offers.
You got it, boss man. Get huge savings on the biggest selection of new and certified pre-owned vehicles in El Paso and surrounding areas at Sun and Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. Right now, get 10% off MSRP on all 2023 Ram 1500 Laramie trucks in stock. Get $5,500 off MSRP on 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport. Get super low 2.9% APR for 72 months or $5,250 cash allowance on 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star trucks. Plus, don't worry about your trade or credit. Our aggressive lenders will push to approve your credit, even if your credit is less than perfect. It's the season of huge savings at Sun and Park Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, at I-10 at Sun and Park Drive, or online at sunandparkdodge.com. Estamos en tu esquina El Paso strong. Please factor rebate and dealer discount plus TTNL. 2.9% APR is $15.15 per thousand finance. All select vehicles with approved credit. Offers not combined.
Stay informed at kcsmradio.com.
Now, here's this week's iHeartRadio countdown of the top trending songs.
Hanging in the 5 spot for a second straight week, it's SZA with her hit Kill Bill. Metro Boomin seems to be quite comfortable to stay right here every week. His song Creepin' with The Weeknd and 21 Savage remains once again at number 4.
I don't wanna know if you're playing me, keep it on the low.
After a 2-week run at the top, Rima and Selena Gomez fall back to the 3 spot this week with Calm Down.
Baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown.
Miley Cyrus and Flowers continues to stay strong, locked in again this week at number 2.
And
that means we have a new number 1, a song Miguel wrote in 2007. Now in 2023, his song Sure Thing is your top trending song.
This love is sure. quit that, never gotta sweat that. Quit that, never gotta sweat that.
And those are your top trending songs of the week.
News
Hear
on
them
the
all
hour
on
and a
iHeartRadio.
half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio. I'm Brian Shook. President Biden and House Speaker McCarthy are meeting at the White House to try to work out a deal over the nation's debt ceiling. Earlier today, McCarthy said it's still possible for Congress to pass a bill to raise the debt limit by June 1st. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen stressed that early June is a hard deadline for raising the debt limit.
We have to pay interest and principal on outstanding debt. We also have obligations to seniors who count on Social Security, our military that expects pay.
The bill banning abortions in Nebraska at 12 weeks and gender transitioning medical treatment for minors is now law. Republican Governor Pillen signed the bill at the state capitol today. The abortion restrictions include exceptions for rape, incest, and medical emergencies. Opponents say lawsuits will be filed immediately against the bill. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott is officially running for president. The Republican made the announcement this morning from his hometown of North Charleston. Scott reflected on his upbringing in a single-parent household, claiming America is the land of opportunity, not oppression. Montana is facing a lawsuit from TikTok for banning the app. The state's new law prohibits Chinese-owned TikTok from operating in the state and doesn't allow residents to download the app to their phones. Hyundai and Kia have settled a $200 million class action lawsuit over car thefts.
The automakers have agreed to pay vehicle owners over claims that many of the automakers' cars and SUVs are too easy to steal because of a software defect. Owners are getting security software updates and reimbursement for losses. The settlement will be distributed to about 9 million owners. I'm Lisa Taylor.
Anheuser-Busch is buying back cases of expired Bud Light from wholesalers after the Dylan Mulvaney controversy. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. The NAACP is warning African Americans to stay away from Florida. Michael Kastner reports.
Over the weekend, the advocacy group issued a formal travel advisory for the state. The organization cites what it calls the governor's aggressive attempts to erase Black history and to restrict DEI programs in Florida schools. The NAACP also says Florida is openly hostile toward African Americans, people of color, and LGBTQ plus individuals.
The U.S. is entering a new security agreement with the Pacifica Island nation of Papua New Guinea. The agreement will expand U.S. access to military and other facilities in Papua New Guinea as Washington tries to counter China's influence in the Indo-Pacific region. A separate agreement will also expand efforts to counter maritime threats such as illegal fishing and smuggling operations. Secretary of State Antony Blinken signed the agreement in the country's capital today. The city council is voting unanimously to approve a bill that would make New York City the first major U.S. city to establish an explicit right to sleep outdoors in some public places. Paul DeCastro has more.
Mayor Eric Adams, who has hailed the city's right to shelter, must now decide if he will grant homeless people the right to sleep outside. If the mayor allows the measure to become law, it would be a notable departure for the city, which has for years sent police and sanitation crews to clear homeless encampments as they arise. Attempts to establish a similar measure in California, including a right to sleep outdoors without fear of being confronted by police, have faltered.
Target is recalling close to 5 million candles that could crack while burning and pose risk of injury. According to the Consumer Product Safety Commission, the items could break and could cut or burn users. The retail giant fielded over 100 reports of the candles cracking during use. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Prep your yard for the summer for less with 5 for $10 Scott's Naturescapes mulch. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Only iHeartRadio gives you access to all of your favorite radio stations.
Rover's Morning Glory.
It's the Woody Show.
It's Elliot in the morning.
All of the once-in-a-lifetime events.
iHeartRadio Music Festival.
All of the best free curated playlists.
It's everything that rocks.
All of the great podcasts for every interest.
This is Freddie Prinze Jr. from the Wrestling with Freddie podcast.
All of the mind-blowing contests.
$20,000.
Awesome. All of your favorite superstars.
This is Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters.
Best of all, it doesn't cost a thing. Download the absolutely free iHeartRadio app now.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
You know, I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM.
City streets or small towns, everyone deserves a clean, green community. We are Keep America Beautiful, the nonprofit working to end littering, improve recycling, and beautify communities. Let's do beautiful things. Visit KAB.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages that we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we got going on here and a lot of discussions today. We've managed to cram in most of the topics that I was hoping to. But a lot more discussion going on, including on some of those, particularly the drug smuggling issues or the, warnings that are being given, particularly in our region. RJ promotes saying xylazine sounds bad, but I remember seeing another flesh-eating drug called crocodile. My note, that one also terrifying because, just like literally eating away at the flesh. Him going on to say, pray that drug never gets across the border or popular in the USA. I've heard of it being present. I can't say I've seen either one happening, but similar kinds of I don't even understand why the hell you'd want to get involved with that. Then again, I also don't really get smoking that much. Louis Panada saying, only dopes use dope, but I don't know. If something is powerful enough, I'll try anything once besides any of these things we're talking about because Lordy, it sounds awful. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines now. Again, if you want to get on the line and add your 2 cents, the number to do so is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. And of course, a recent like over on the social media coming from Ion Grim as well. Do appreciate that. But right now we do have Jerry on the northwest side of town on the line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call.
No, sure thing. What's on your mind?
Well, for one, I never thought that I would see the zombie apocalypse come to life, Anyway,
fair enough.
That's not the reason I called. I called on the state and the committees that they're going to end this week.
No, sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's one that we all need to be concerned about, and we need to call our representative, the House representative in your area.
Okay.
It's SRJ 52, which is to extend the Convention of States resolution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be on the floor in the House tomorrow. I don't know what time tomorrow, but email or call your representatives, El Paso, and have Mr. Moody, or I'm not sure what area you're in, but have them vote yes for this. If you feel like I do and think that the government's getting too big and that representatives and senators should be limited to the time they can spend in the House and in the Senate, restrictions on it, and spending too much, put a cap on it, then we need to have this Convention of States and bring the federal government into line.
Yeah. think I found the one you're talking about. I think it's SJR 52. Yeah, a joint resolution extending the deadline for the automatic recession of certain applications made by the Texas legislature to the United States Congress to call for a national convention under Article 5 of the United States Constitution for proposing any amendment to that Constitution.
Yes. Did I say something besides SJR?
I think you said SRJ, but yeah, SJR 52. That's the one. And I often mention epcountyvotes.com because it's a useful tool for a lot of things involving elections. But if anyone's not sure who they're, particularly when it comes down to the state level and the state reps, pretty much for most of our listening area, except for those of y'all in southern New Mexico, you're probably likely to be Cesar Blanco, but of course we have the different Texas House representatives voted within El Paso County. Mary Gonzalez, Lena Ortega, Joe Moody, Claudia Ordaz, pretty much within El Paso County, and then there's Eddie Morales. It's one of those districts that's been kind of district out of our area, but is still present. So that's people can find the list there, including the maps if they're at all unclear on where it is.
Yes, and I believe the county next to us, east of us, is it Hudspeth? That's what it's called.
Believe you.
They also receive your radio waves out there.
Sure.
But I do remember when driving truck coming over Cerro Blanco and turning into 690.
Sure.
So okay, and the next thing is, from what I understand and read, they're going to end. The federal government's going to end the portion for doing DNA testing for immigrants coming across the border. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to people are going to be getting young children that are not theirs and bringing them across so they can claim their families. Mm-hmm. Because they give priorities to families. The Border Patrol does. In allowing them to come in, especially with younger children. But they're not going to supply, they're going to end the contract. The federal government's going to end the contract in buying the DNA test kits effective 31 May.
Okay.
So that's something you might want to research on that and find out if that's true. But that's what I read on a blog post earlier today.
Okay. Yeah, of course. You're talking about the program that was put into place, want to send to the Trump administration in order to verify that someone claiming family status or particularly parentage of a minor they were bringing across was actually related to them.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's important because bringing across young children that are not their own, you don't know whether the individual kidnap the young child or if there's something going on with somebody across the border selling the child or renting the child out, to do all this. And then once they get across here to the border, they release him and he makes his way back into Mexico, into Juarez, and next day he's back with somebody else,
Or
I don't know the case on that.
Yeah, or are there more disturbing implications such as trafficking? But yeah,
Yes.
So haven't seen anything on that specifically, so I'll try to do the deep dive after the program here today.
All righty, sir. I would explain something to John down in the lower valley, but I'll let somebody else have their time today because I know you've got other callers.
Fair enough.
Thank you, sir.
Sure thing.
Have a
Well,
good day.
thank you for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Bye.
All right. And with that, we'll get to more calls in line there. Again, that number to call if you want to get on the line is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM, like the side discussion going on about different illicit drugs, such as RJ saying, never wore tie-dye shirts, but I was young once. People were at some point. No one's born 40 with a mortgage, but care and... Not that it was ever my thing, but I can't even imagine doing anything like that these days with all of the pitfalls that exist with it. I guess I feel about it like eating like really rare beef, unless I know exactly where it came from. I'm not going to be interested. And we got another call on the line here. We do have Eric on the east side with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us. Eric, you there with us? Okay.
Hello?
Hello. Yes.
All right. Yeah, Jerry can stop pretending to respect the Constitution if he's lobbying to have it rewritten, especially in this political climate. And but before getting into immigration, I wanted to touch on last Friday, during your last call with the concerned El Pasoan, you misinformed them in a mind-blowing way.
Oh, really?
That absolutely, needs to be corrected, if you don't mind.
I'm all ears.
Yeah, you said it has been a fact of the matter that foreign countries have had an interest in having some influence or ability to exert influence on our elections, whether it being Russian interference in the 2016 elections, reached a level higher than just putting out information or bad information. I haven't seen anything that convinces me beyond that point. And, that's a clear-cut case of your right-wing bubble not informing you properly and you not respecting the conclusions of independent FBI and intelligence agency investigations that all conclusively found that Russian military intelligence officers through the GRU.
Okay, so let's get straight to the bottom of this here. Are you saying that the election was hacked? Are you saying that there were numbers changed? Are you saying that you support what President Trump has said about what happened in that election?
You specifically said that it didn't go beyond spreading bad information, and now...
No, because, okay, if you're going to quote me, you need to actually, understand what I was saying there. Yeah, the whole fake news, bad websites, putting out, did some insert political candidate here eat a baby? It got clicks, and some people made money off of that, sure, but to say it rose a level higher than that, if you're saying that it went higher than that, it would seem like you're going along the lines of what former President Trump has said about what happened in that. Is that what you're saying? Let's go with a yes or no here for once.
I'm saying that the Russian military intelligence officers were found to have hacked the DNC, which isn't just spreading bad information in swing states. It's hacking the DNC and spreading misinformation in swing states. And Trump only won by 107,000 votes in the 3 swing states required to be president. And Russia's disinformation operation and the hacking of the DNC easily made up for those 107,000 votes.
Are you saying they were changed? Is that what you are saying? That those votes were changed? Yes or no? Let's go with a yes. Okay, I'm going to give you one chance to do this here because you're saying I'm wrong when I said I was not convinced, and you're saying, and therefore you're wrong. Dude, we're talking about literally my opinion on this, and you're saying your opinion's wrong. That's what you're coming down with here right now. So I'm going to give you one chance. Do those 100,000 votes, specifically you're talking about, do you feel those were changed or that those were what people ended up casting? Yes or no?
Obviously, the DNC hack and the misinformation campaign swayed 107,000 votes.
Okay, if you're not actually going to answer the questions, I've been getting flack on this online. Dude, this is a simple question for you. Do you feel that those votes were changed from the way people cast them, as in that the election was hacked? That's what I was referring to here. The idea that something else happened like that, I have not seen convincing evidence myself. But are you saying that this election was actually hacked, that the results were hacked, that the results were artificially changed beyond what the people ended up casting themselves?
You're strawmanning what I'm saying. I'm specifically saying that those 100...
I'm giving you a chance to say yes or no, dude, but I get it. You think that I'm some incarnation of an undesirable in your life here, and therefore I have to be opposed at every level. I'm just trying to get an answer out of you. Trying at my best. So if you think I'm strawmanning you, you're doing it to yourself, my dude, by not actually answering the question. Let me say this. Are you saying that it wasn't hacked? Does that work better for you?
The specific votes obviously weren't hacked. I'm talking about the DNC being hacked.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
the votes that it changed, determining the outcome of the election. That's the greatest attack on our sovereignty in modern American history, and you're downplaying it and sweeping it under the rug, part of your conservative tribalism.
It's hilarious every time you bring up tribalism. I gotta say this here because Tell me something that you agree with that conservatives have done, and I will frankly have to pick my jaw up off the floor. You never talk about the things that you agree with other people, but that's by the by. You're literally only in opposition, my dude. You know what? Okay, I will grant you that, yes, the actual hack of that, the real boneheaded statements that the former president said about, hey, I don't know who did this, but if you want to give us that data, like that was just a dumb statement anyway, that you end up slicing it here. So sure, I'll give you that one. That one was a egregious action, and I mean, there were people that were, if I'm remembering correctly, basically indicted in absentia, but I mean, they're probably never going to be seen outside of Russia, so I don't expect a lot of results out of that part of it. But what I was referring to with all of that there, and again, context of quotes is also critical. What I was saying is that I don't think that any votes were actively changed. And frankly, the issue that I come down with, the way a lot of people end up talking about this whole situation, is that they come down to, well, I'm just not going to bother voting. All of it's changed anyway, which is just the most feckless thing that I can understand. So does that make any level of sense to you, or are you just are you mad at me that I don't agree with you?
Nobody was saying the votes were changed via hacking. I quoted you exactly, and you said that you didn't see anything that convinces you beyond the point that Russia didn't just spread misinformation.
Eric, are you listening to what I'm saying right now, or are you just waiting to speak? Because I actually just said, if you want to look at what I just said, is that, you know what? Sure, that was probably something that I didn't completely take into account with that statement, and therefore, was egregious. Do you get that I'm agreeing with you on that limited point? Is that registering at all between those ears?
I would acknowledge that you're now modifying your quote that I just quoted you specifically, saying there's now some new.
Eric, you're doing this whole thing where nothing can be agreed upon. If you're not going to be reasonable about this, we're, again, not having discussion here. A discussion involves people giving, taking, understanding things. I'm trying to do that with you, my dude. And no, I'm not trying to change it. But again, context is important. So I'm literally saying that, you know what, you've got a point. And you're saying, well, yeah, but you're still bad. So seriously, if you're not going to listen to what I'm saying, I really don't know what we're doing here. We're overdue for that next break. Again, listen to what I just said and get back with me, because it seems like you're way too focused on the whole I hate you aspect of this here. And sure, call that a straw man if you want, but seriously, this is only oppositional. Prove me otherwise. Let's go ahead and take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, if you want to get on the phone line, do believe they're working besides that hiccup with the answering of it there. That number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Watch for a stalled vehicle reported on Joe Battle southbound at Montana, where the activity and vehicle off right on the shoulder. There is a minor backup approaching. Also, a stalled vehicle, Loop 375 southbound at Iron Medics Drive, off to the right, but slowing is from the Spur 601. Watch for possible slowing due to police activity on Patriot Freeway southbound at Martin Luther King. That's your latest traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Prep your yard for the summer for less with 5 for $10 Scott's Naturescapes mulch. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. While supplies last, selection varies by location.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow! 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Turn your home into restricted airspace. Tell incoming flights you want them diverted. The new Raid Essentials light trap plugs into the wall and uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes. Its 24/7 continuous attraction provides insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly. Consider air service interrupted. New Raid Essentials light trap, insecticide-free protection.
Two guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same two guys drove home. One guy wore a seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Most of the time, traffic is pretty good. But there are times when traffic can be pretty bad. No, I mean like really bad. Almost, but more like an asteroid's gonna hit the city and everyone's trying to get out of town at once and nobody's car is moving and people are running down the highway clutching their kids and whatever belongings they can grab. Yep, now you got it. It's times like these you need your severe traffic station. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. A lot of other conversations and my willingness to indulge them or not coming in. But let's just say that, yeah, if you're wanting to like bring up a point and actually discuss it here, but not actually going to like respond to discussion on that point, but it's gone down to, well, the simple way to put it is if it comes down to you suck comments, like, oh, you suck, or there's this soundbite I think I finally need to find from an older Family Guy episode, big fat phony. I need to just have that as like a button to play here, because that's what it comes down to if you're not actually like listening, responding to me talking about things. Anyway. Sorry, sometimes the comments get to me. Anyway, tell you what, we had a little bit long that segment. We're going to come back quickly with this one. We will get to more phone calls in the line. We've had a couple of drop off here, so I have no reason to believe we're having an issue, but if you want to get onto the phone line, they are open and available now. That number is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Actually, recent of note, we've had some calls coming in through the old pound 250 system, which we haven't really been promoting much anymore because we've been having some issues with it, but we have had some come in more recently. For those that remember that whole system. So we're going to try to access those. Just note when they come in the middle of a show, we're not able to get to it. So phone line is still preferred right now if you're wanting to get on the show and add your 2 cents outside of the comments. So remember, that number is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Should be able to get more calls in the line here, unless we got more of those steam-powered radio issues. In any case, we got plenty more to talk about, getting more into depth on some of those subjects we already going here. We're always prepared for this, don't worry. So back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. The phone number again, as long as you're all able to get through again, 915-544-5876. Back in a minute. Don't go anywhere.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. A 24-year-old woman is accused of driving drunk and causing a deadly crash. It happened Sunday morning at the intersection of Joe Battle and Edgemere. Valeria Mena is accused of running a red light and crashing into a Honda Accord. A passenger in that car was killed. He's been identified as 28-year-old Stephen Anthony Hernandez. Valeria Mena was booked into the county jail on manslaughter charges. And a 20-year-old man has been arrested, accused in a deadly shooting that happened Friday night in a desert area in East El Paso County. Jose Manuel Villa was arrested by El Paso County Sheriff's deputies. The shooting happened again on Friday night. They say that he shot and killed 19-year-old Adan Tiscareño. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 90. Traffic all day.
Watch for a stalled vehicle reported on Joe Battle southbound at Montana, where the activity and vehicle off right on the shoulder. There is a minor backup approaching. Also, a stalled vehicle, Loop 375 southbound at Iron Medics Drive, off to the right, but slowing is from the Spur 601. Watch for possible slowing due to police activity on Patriot Freeway southbound at Martin Luther King. That's your latest traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. We're going to see a drier and hotter pattern as we start the week and move toward the middle part of the week. Southwesterly winds pushing the moisture out, so we're not going to see chances for storms tomorrow. Just dry for your Tuesday. Partly cloudy skies with a high around 93 degrees. We'll see mostly sunny skies for our Wednesday, a little hotter, high around 96. Partly cloudy, breezy for your Thursday, high 97. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. Finding a great hire can be a challenge. That's why there's Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 toward your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
In this week's Marketers Report, Chris Brandt, Chief Marketing Officer at Chipotle Mexican Grill, weighs in on the power of audio.
We've used audio to reinforce what we're showing on TV, what we're showing in other digital channels. When your priority is driving reach, boy, everybody seems to listen to the radio.
As the #1 audio company, iHeartMedia gives marketers access to the audiences, conversations, trusted influencers, insights, and data you need to grow. If you're a marketer, go to iHeartResults.com.
Each year, thousands of women and girls are at risk for an unplanned pregnancy. Some are worried about becoming a parent too soon, about what having a child will mean for their plans for the future. Modern adoption plans allow women and girls to choose what is important to them in an adoptive family, including ethnicity, religious beliefs, personality traits, and where they live. By considering a modern adoption plan, women and girls are making brave and selfless choices. To learn more about modern adoption, go to modernadoptionplans.org.
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes.
Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Prep your yard for the summer for less with 5 for $10 Scott's Naturescapes mulch. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31, excludes Alaska and Hawaii. While supplies last, selection varies by location. This report is sponsored by Lowe's.
Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed. Shouldn't we listen? They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Okay, forest animals, kids are coming to the forest, and it's up to us to make their visit a good one. Sparrow, have you practiced the most popular bird songs for the year?
Of course.
Catchy. I like it. River, how's the temperature?
It's a refreshing 52 degrees, man.
I love it. Turtle.
He's not here yet, man.
He's late every morning. Okay. Squirrel.
The forest has been preparing just for you. To learn more about cool things to do in the forest, visit discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various many different social media pages, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, more or less the main one, but similar ones other on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Again, Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk is the place to find us, and some in between, and a lot of conversation on different aspects of what we have talked about and aspects of this. Look, all I'm going to say is that when it comes to the local elections anyway, we got that runoff coming up. So for those of you that still have positions on the ballot, again, Horizon City in general, or the EPISD, 2 and 6, or YISD number 6 districts, please make sure, make your plan to go out and vote, and we'll be talking more about those as we get closer to it. I mentioned I would talk about it a little bit later, but going to be talking more about particularly the one that has been the most discussion about the potential for a special session in the Texas legislature. The savings accounts, vouchers, whatever they'll end up being called, the idea of public funding for education going to wherever the recipient wants it to go. So either private, other schools, those kind of things. And those details are definitely one of the hotter things being hashed out right now. So we'll be talking, actually, plan is for tomorrow on the show to talk with the Texas American Federation of Teachers about their perspective on this here, and particularly going to be talking with the president, Zeph Capo, on that. So stay tuned for that on the program tomorrow, as we're at the fever pitch moment in this. I mean, I wouldn't even say exactly what we're going to be able to talk about, because it could have changed by tomorrow. I'm going to be honest with you all. So we'll see. But that's the plan for it tomorrow. Anyway, let's go back to those phone lines right now. Do you think we got whatever the ghost in the system was exercise? And right now we have Kevin on the east side here with us right now. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon.
Sure thing. What's on your mind?
For show for quite a few months, maybe a year or two. And I really enjoy it, or have enjoyed it considerably. However, I've noticed that many callers, mostly on the left, a few on the right, have turned so negative that they don't have anything positive to say about their own proposals, about their own platform, about their own ideas about what they want to do. I get it, from the left especially, because I'm a far right-wing, extreme Christian conservative.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it. What I want them to say, and what I want them to do, is to say, okay, here is our platform. This is what we stand for, and this is what we want to implement on any. The thing that really gets my goat is the attacks on you, the host. Now, they don't have to agree with you. I understand
Sure.
that. But you are the host. Without you and this radio station, those people don't have a voice. You know, to insult, and that's what it boils down to insult you even personally it's not gentlemanly or ladylike. It's just, it's terrible. I don't like that. I know that you have a big heart and you have a lot of guts to put up with this stuff. But listening to these people, there's a different way that they can do this. And, I just want to run that by you and hope some of these people can be more positive and tell us what their specific programs are and how to implement them.
I'll agree with you wholeheartedly. I mean, yeah, I can certainly take it. If I couldn't, I don't think I've been doing. Actually, we're coming up on 6 years of me doing this type of work, even if we're in like the progression of the third year of this show in this format at this time here. So been doing this in this way for a minute, and yeah, I've definitely got a thick skin. I'm here for the debate, though. If people aren't here to actually I've said this to others before. If I don't know what you stand for, I only know what you oppose. Do you stand for anything? I guess is part of the problem here, because yes, if someone just want to say all these things are awful and then come down to it, I would say, so what do you want to do about it? And they say, well, these things are awful. Why don't you recognize that these are awful? It's like, okay, but I'm trying to get out of you. I mean, maybe I don't go about this the right way. That's the most entertaining. It's the only way I know how, though, unfortunately, to try and get to like a core of an argument and figure out where things could. I'm not necessarily trying to enforce or create consensus even, because that's a fraught industry as it is, but trying to get towards it is about one of the reasons that I like to do this, because trying to get to like, okay, where are the points where we might even possibly agree is, I think, one of the things that's missing in a lot of other ways. So if it takes wading through a pile of slop in order to get there, I guess I'm willing to do that, even if maybe I'm dragging some that aren't totally willing to do so along for the ride.
Well, I would say that that can be done, right? And you could even talk to Putin, or in the old days, Erich Honecker from East Germany. You could talk to them civilly and have a conversation. Nixon did this with Brezhnev. It can be done. Now, that doesn't mean that we agree on things. We might even hate each other's guts. But we are not going to be insulting to each person. It doesn't lead to anything. There's no goal there. It just doesn't. It rubs me the wrong way. And I just wanted to vent my frustration. And I admire you for your courageous approach to these people. And you put up with a lot, and God bless you for that. And I'll leave it at that, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Well, I appreciate the perspective, and frankly, you venting your frustration on this, because, I mean, I've been debating people for a long time, arguably since I could talk, and I got some things that I'm used to that maybe other people aren't, and sometimes I guess I got to remember, as much as I may be not having anyone else in the room with me in this studio, that y'all along with me on the ride here for this. So we have updated some of our policies, particularly online, and what I mentioned on air about basics of trolling, basics of not libel or slander, or things like this, and we might have to do a little bit more with that, because if we're not talking about the issues, the one thing that I have said consistently since day one, I want to talk about the issues and what can or cannot be done about them. If we're not doing that, then maybe we are missing the mark too much, even if I'm here for it. So I do appreciate it greatly.
Okay. Thank you, Andrew. Have a good day.
You there as well. Have a good one.
All right.
And we got some more calls on the line here. So oh, yeah. You never expect a troll to admit that they're a troll. They're saying, "Oh, why are you silencing me?" It's so flippin' predictable. Anyway, we got John in Central on the line with us right now here. John, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. I think Kevin has a good point, and I agree with him.
Fair enough.
Okay. Today's call to inform, bring something new to the audience. This past week, I was reading where the Texas legislature passed a law about electric, I guess, vehicles. These, I think they call them.
Yeah, sure. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard this one where, since they don't, internal combustion engines, you go up to the driver goes up to the gas station and pays for the gas, and then there's a tax on top of that.
Sure.
We know that. If anybody that buys gasoline, and that tax goes to repair or build roads, maintain the highways.
Mm-hmm.
You heard this one where Governor Abbott either signed it or he will sign it, where they're going to start taxing $400 initial charge when they buy a EV, and then $200 every year. Have you heard this one?
Yeah, I think specifically it's about $350 as a one-time fee upon the purchase of it, and then the renewal, as opposed to I've done it automatically so many times. It used to be $10. I actually don't remember what it is anymore because I just fill back out the paperwork and then go do it online. So I can't remember offhand, but I think that the renewal for electric vehicles would be about $150.
Somewhere there, but I think that's a good deal. I'm not. I would never own an EV. I'm still old-fashioned. Drive
Fair enough.
An old pickup, I think it's a 1995, and a Toyota 2006. I'm happy with them. There's no reason for me to change. So, what do you think? Should I think about buying an EV?
I mean, if it makes sense for you, sure. I am still very much on the fence about it. I mean, I know that. Okay, I'm not in the tax bracket to afford one of the high-end Teslas at this moment, but hopefully I will be one day, that kind of a thing. I don't know if I'll totally go with them because of some other concerns that I have, like what was it? I can't remember the hurricane it was a few years back. They, for the budget models, they increased the range that was possible. So as we start getting into like right to repair laws, so honestly, outside of what you're talking about, there's a whole lot of considerations I have when it comes to this. But I think it'll probably be more viable for people in urbanized areas in which there can be the charging stations necessary to support the transit with them here. And in terms of, I mean, there are some people that are describing these fees as punitive, as like punishing those that therefore go to an electric vehicle. The kind of consideration I have is that the alternative would be, because I mean, Texas and many other states have been looking at basically going towards excise fees, eliminating taxes as much as possible, or as is politically feasible. But so to turn this into an excise, as in you are using it, therefore you're being charged. Yeah, when you go to the pump, you see the state and federal taxes that are on your gasoline that are being charged on it. I think somewhere, it's been a minute since I looked at it closely, somewhere in the order of like 10 to 30 cents, give or take, depending on also which state you are in, of course, added on to the price of every gallon. So how would you do that with electric vehicles? There would either be maybe some kind of regulation process for each hookup in which there's some added to that surcharge of the electricity, which would be a regulatory nightmare considering that a lot of them are potentially going to be installed on houses, or you just add it to every bit of power that is used. Therefore, it would be raising the prices for everyone, which I have to imagine would be a political non-starter. So I don't know. It depends on your personal situation if electric vehicle makes sense for you. I'm more concerned, I'll say, with the whole self-driving thing, because that's just I don't know, that's a Frankenstein problem waiting to happen. So I'm probably going to be like the last person on the road in 50 years having I'll probably have a name for it at that point, a dumb car or something like that. That's my trajectory I expect. So do what makes sense for you, but you do bring up some valid points.
Before I leave, let me give a big hello to my good buddy, Jerry.
Yeah,
okay?
Sure thing.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you for the
bye.
point in the call. Do
Thank
appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
All right, and with that, I think we have time for one more call on the line here. I think we managed to get him back working again. So as just a reminder, you call in the midst of a segment, and yeah, you might get popped up live, so stay there on the line with us. Let's see if we're good to go here. We do have a caller on the line with us right now. You're live with Talk El Paso. Who's this?
Yeah, this is Rick. How you doing, Andrew?
Doing all right there, Rick. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to commend the show. Thank you for having this Talk El Paso, and commend you on your excellent debatability. And what is so great is that these demon crafts, these ridiculous, you can see the psychosis of them. It's funny how they speak the same. They can't answer yes or no. They can only blame, finger point, and blame and cry baby. But I thank you, and I want to put a forgiveness. I apologize for those people, Democrats. They can't do it. They can only be rude. So I want to represent them and say, forgive me, forgive them. It's very sad, but I wanted to do that, Andrew. I just wanted to vent that. And when I do vent something, I express it, and that's it. Either I express my idea and give it a solution, or my opinion to salute it for a solution, and then that's it. I don't continue. So I thank you for this time. You're doing great, Andrew. Thank you for the show, and just everything great to you all. Blessings.
Well, appreciate the point, and do appreciate feedback. As James Ratcliffe is saying over there, Andrew is a big boy. Yeah, I put on my big boy pants to come and do this, so don't worry, I can take it. But I also appreciate the feedback and letting us know how you all feel about it, because I may be willing to indulge a little bit too much sometimes. So do appreciate it. Thank you for the point in the call.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we're getting close to taking that last break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll give you a little bit more detail on what we got coming up for you. No, I already mentioned it, but anyone tuning in at the end would expect to probably hear that. So let's go ahead and take that last break right now. So coming out of this break, tell you more about what we got coming up for you on the program here, as well as probably a few more comments. So stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy slowing on I-10 eastbound for the accident at Copia, blocking the left lane. Traffic is backed up to Brown at this time on 10 eastbound. Also expect heavy slowing on the way to Bridge of America south to the border. Very heavy congestion and police activity on US 54 southbound at MLK. That's your latest El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Come shop Memorial Day deals now at Lowe's. Like buy one, get one 50% off on select interior and exterior paints and exterior stains via Lowe's gift card rebate. Lowe's knows home improvement. Valid through 5/31. More terms and restrictions apply. See Lowe's.com/rebates for details.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Education doesn't just take place in the classroom. There are many ways children of all ages can learn about sustainability and the environment at home. Visit iHeartRadio.com/Earth for a list of resources, activity guides, and toolkits that are educational and fun for the whole family. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth. iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Reduce your impact on the environment this fall by packing a waste-free lunch for school or work. Avoid foods with excessive packaging. Use reusable cutlery, napkins, cups, bags, and containers, and recycle or compost any waste when possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Turn your home into restricted airspace. Tell incoming flights you want them diverted. The new Raid Essentials light trap plugs into the wall and uses light to attract, then trap flying insects like fruit flies and mosquitoes. Its 24/7 continuous attraction provides insecticide-free protection that's people and pet friendly. Consider air service interrupted. New Raid Essentials light trap, insecticide-free protection.
Two guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same two guys drove home. One guy wore a seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Recently, we hit the streets and found out how informed people really are.
Yes, I'm on top of events.
Most news, yes.
Except for these two.
I am not on top of events.
I'm not on top of my events, no.
They were clueless that every morning they can plug into the world with the news, weather, and traffic info that'll make their lives so much easier and more informed. Just like you and I do. Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Did you know that only 2 in 10 El Paso County students graduate with a bachelor's degree? By supporting Border Youth Athletic Association's mission of educational attainment, you will create a long-lasting impact in our students' lives. Your monthly donation enables 4th through 12th grade students access to after-school programs, providing a safe and healthy environment. BYAA engages and empowers El Paso's future through mentorship and leadership development. We believe every player who gets an education wins. Do you? Go to borderyouth.org and show your support for our youth today.
No Hollywood release can match it.
It's worth the wait. Who complains?
No television drama can equal it.
That was the scariest episode of your show.
And nothing else comes close to the drama.
This is unbelievable.
And you know what? Quite frankly, this scares people.
Join the conversation. We have seen this movie before. We know that it doesn't end well.
Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I've been your host, Andrew J. Polk, rounding the bend at the end of the show here. A couple of things I want to tell you about what we're working on for you. Again, we got a couple of major either election or election consequence-related things coming up here this week, basically. So the one we're going to be featuring tomorrow, we're going to be having on the president of the Texas American Federation of Teachers, the executive council, I guess, President Zeph Capo, or Capo, I'll ask him directly. That'll be the guest on the show tomorrow to talk about the school voucher, savings account, school choice in general, bills that are percolating through the Texas legislature, the focus on them. Of course, the features therein, they've got some studies out about particularly that not exactly urban-rural divide, but how much there has been issues, even within the conservative wing in Texas, of the rural versus urban on this, and how much it has been focused on, of course, by Governor Greg Abbott, one of his emergency items and one of his, at the least, current threats of calling a special session if it doesn't get done. So even as we are in the waning hours of this session, this is basically the last full week. There ain't much going to happen after Memorial Day is essentially the way that it goes. So we'll be talking about that, the merits of it, and really kind of their efforts as well. Interesting conversation to be had with one of the statewide representatives for a teachers union here in Texas. So we'll certainly interject some of that as well. Some other things, of course, we have got the school board election. So we're not going to try to go like 100% education focused, but there's a lot of it going on right now. So we're going to be working on that to get it to you. But just as a reminder, we do have, of course, Election Day, Saturday, June 10th. So couple of, let's call it better part of 2 weeks away, better part of 3. Really 3 weeks away, but early voting is actually going to start May 30th. So right after Memorial Day, we'll be getting into that. So that's going to have to leave it there for today because we are super out of time here for this program. We stand, as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. for those that want to talk about the issues, want to talk about the things and their perspective on what affects us here in the borderland. And we'll keep doing that with the phone calls and everything. So until then, until next time, I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. We'll do it again tomorrow as we do every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. So when we see you next time, until then, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy slowing on I-10 eastbound for the accident at Copia, blocking the left lane. Traffic is backed up to Brown.